For those that don't yet know him, Bo Burnham is a creative prodigy who first excelled on YouTube, garnering tens of millions of views on his musical comedy channel, then transitioning to stand-up comedy, winning plaudits from seasoned peers such as the late, great Gary Shandling. Now, at the age of just 28, Burnham has written and directed his first movie, the absolutely superb 8th Grade. Bo talks to me about the film, why he chose a girl as his protagonist, and winning awards for his first foray behind the camera. He also touches on the toxicity of Twitter, why late night talk shows need Donald Trump, and more. My name is Mike Sheridan, and this is The Delve. You've got I think the best acceptance speech I've ever seen. Certainly the best opening line. The WGA's.
Yeah.
Were you really not expecting to win?
Oh my God, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Because it was like, everyone was told me, it just felt impossible. It felt, because it's like, whatever, the logistics, who cares? But it's like, I mean, I was like the only one not nominated for an Oscar out of all of them.
That's why the joke was so hilarious.
And they were all, and like the same people vote on both. So I was like, well, obviously I didn't, somehow I snuck into the nominations here, but I'm obviously not going to win. And then there was some weird, I don't know what fucking happened.
It's a great line though. So you basically said, good luck at the Oscars, losers.
Yeah.
But that's a layered joke. That joke works on many levels. And like you see seasoned, actors or whatever, comedians, performers on stage, directors who shit themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean,
moment.
Well, it's very easy to be charming on stage in a room full of writers when just a bunch of writers are getting up and talking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you were part of the Oscar conversation as well, and that's because the Oscars aren't really what they were. I mean, and there's this whole kind of run up to the Oscars, the whole run up to award season, and your movie was lauded pretty much from the start. How much attention did you pay to the reviews and stuff? Because it was, you look it up and it's critically lauded, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did pay attention to it. I mean, I sort of had to. I mean, luckily, it went well, so it was okay to pay attention to it. It probably doesn't set a good precedent going forward, but the film's so small, it's just like, you have to kind of micromanage it. I have to be aware of the conversation because I'm having to like promote it myself. I mean, A24 is doing a wonderful job in America doing that, but like, you kind of have to, with a small independent film, you kind of have to be aware of what's being said because you're trying to track it and encourage it in the right direction, but that's like not healthy probably at all.
So was there ever a conversation about maybe having you have a role? I know there really isn't one, but maybe having a role for you in it as well?
No,
so you can be more of an attraction, maybe for the funders or whatever?
No one even gives a shit about me. I mean, truly no one cares about me. Like, I wouldn't sell any tickets, and even when they put my name up there, I was like, that's not going to be relevant to anybody.
But I mean, it obviously has helped. Like 100%, the movie's done so well.
Yeah, I don't think the movie's done well in the back of my name, but yeah. I think the movie's done well in spite of my name, truly. But yeah, I had no interest in that. I had already sort of made, I was so tired of myself and my face. I was so looking forward to making something that didn't have my face in it. Really, like, because I couldn't watch any of the stuff I made and enjoy it because I saw myself and that's not, you can't, it's just complicated to watch yourself. So I was really looking forward to making something without me.
Are you looking forward, obviously, to the directing elements to it too, and how to direct actors? Because you're dealing with a somewhat inexperienced cast as well. Was that difficult to kind of get a grasp on at first, or did you know going in, okay, this is how I'm going to approach this? You'd done your research with your casting and stuff.
Well, that was actually just my attraction to directing. Period, was working with actors. I felt like I fell in love with theater when I was young. I love to act, and I there was a certain type of style of performance that I felt like I wasn't seeing in movies, and I wanted to see, and I wanted to get, and I felt like I could get. So I felt like it was the technical aspects of filmmaking that I was like, I don't know any of this shit. I'm gonna try to like.
I have a crew for that.
Yeah. I'm gonna read. I tried. I had 8 months to prepare, and I read a book a week, and watched 3 movies a day, and just tried to really prepare myself for that. But I felt pretty confident in directing the actors. Not confident, but excited, which is more important probably. Like excited to work with the actors. Because I just remember, and especially the young actors, I mean, I remember being that age and being an actor, doing theater, just, local theater. And I remember how hungry I was at that age to participate in the artistic process and to take ownership over it. And that's what I was looking forward to doing with the kids, giving them ownership over this thing. I think that's how kids are often failed in movies. They're seen as just pawns to be moved for the vision of the director or whatever. And I really wanted these kids to have ownership over the thing and to feel empowered to express themselves and be a part of the process.
Where did it start? Did it start with Elsie and Josh's relationship, their character's relationship in it? Because it's a beautiful part of the movie. Just that kind of back and forth where, Josh is just constantly just trying to reassure, because he knows that's what he should be doing, and she'll come around eventually. Is that where the idea started with you? Did it start as this kid and maybe your family, or this kid being a YouTuber?
It started with her vlogging, yeah. It really did start with vlogs, like just watching vlogs of young people online, mostly girls, talking about their life and feeling like very just fascinated by it. Just the way these young people express themselves online, and it was just incredibly complex, and it was more complex than any sort of voiceover I had seen. Or there are a lot of movies and things where kids talk to a webcam, and it's nowhere near as complex as the way kids actually talk to their webcam, which is, you see them trying to present themselves, and you see them sort of synthesizing their influences, which is, every celebrity they've ever heard of and other YouTubers they're fans of, and you see them failing to be some sort of cultural standard, and you see them. It's just incredibly complex and interesting. And I watched these videos and I thought, if this were a performance in a movie, it would be incredible. Because what I'm seeing is so complex and strange and just mesmerizing and deep and shallow and public and private and hyper-focused and all over the place. So that was the in. And then the idea was like, okay, well, because when you watch these videos, their whole life is implied through it. When you see a video of a 7th, 8th grade girl with a title like "How to Be Cool" or "How to Make Friends," and she's talking about making friends, and you can see in all the negative space of what she's saying what her life must be outside of this thing. She's being like, well, if you're trying to make friends with one person, like the thing you definitely shouldn't do is like talk about them behind their back, because like if you do that and you're like, oh, okay, so someone clearly did this like a week ago to her, and she's now like processing it and showing it as like some like as if she's like Moses coming down from the with the towel. I haven't read the Bible recently. But yeah, that I was just fascinated by it. I was just fascinated by the way these kids were presenting themselves online, performing their truth, performing their private moments. Performing. And I just felt like that is, I looked at these kids and I was like, this is what it means to be alive right now.
And it's nice to see the reaction that kids are having. I saw you and Elsie watch a video of the kids, yellow t-shirt kid, right? He kind of turned around on it from the start.
But the meta mess of that, it's us, it's a video of us reacting to a video of those kids reacting to our movie that's about the internet. It's like, you know what I mean? You get met. It's just too deep. The rabbit hole's too deep at this point. Yeah, and now we're talking about it on. It's wild. It's too much.
And you've said the filmmaking community have been really welcoming to you. I was watching the Hollywood Reporter Roundtable, and it's like
I'm so sorry.
I love that show. I love those. I think they're great. But you've got like John Krasinski there, obviously. But you've got Eric Roth and Paul Schrader, who are these like, legends of filmmaking, have been doing it for a very long time, amongst others as well. And I was kind of like, that must have been intimidating for anybody. Even somebody like Krasinski's been in the business for a long time. And then one of the crew actually, Ewan sent me on a video of the green room. And all the comedians would sit around and the comedians would shoot the shit. Yeah. And to kind of see Gary Shandling kind of compliment your stand-up. Were you 20 at the time, 21?
Yeah, 19.
Like all of these guys had so much respect for you sitting there. Was it then easier to kind of move into a different, was there a confidence involved then with moving up into the film world and dealing with all these other personalities? Because there's tears in Hollywood sometimes, right?
Yeah, well, it's easier to be the young person in the room in a certain way because you're just young and, like, sometimes, when you're younger, you can just, smile and play cute or whatever. I don't know, I don't know. What's the answer? He wonders. What'd you say?
You're sitting around with the comedians.
Yeah.
And the comedians obviously accepted you well, I don't know how quickly they accepted you. I know you were saying, oh, well, I was kind of younger and maybe there's an element of lowered expectations when you're younger. But Gary Shandling doesn't strike me as the type who would have passed around compliments to other comics super
No,
easy.
you know, he would have, but and
If they
Gary
were
and I
good,
had like
if
a
they were
little,
good.
yeah, and Gary and I had like a little relationship post that, and you know, the thing you find is, you know, it's like people are just accessible. You know what I mean? It's like you get in the room with people, and then this sort of like big sort of proper noun version of them that's very intimidating or scary to you. You realize, oh, you're just like a person that's vulnerable like me and scared like me, and I mean, the people you're kind of talking about are kind, open people. You know, all the people you mentioned are very kind, humble people. So I think that's why they did that. There are people less talented than all of those people that made me feel way more intimidated because of the way they carry themselves. But people like Gary Shandling and
Ray Romano sitting next
Ray
to
and
the
Ray,
big
but
secret
Krasinski
Ray, yeah.
and Schrader and Eric Roth, just very kind, open people, you know. And you know, I've been lucky enough to be around those people, and you know, have tried as I've gotten older to pay that sort of humility forward, or just internalize it for my own sake.
Is there an element as well of kind of breaking the rules a little bit, because you're not supposed to be that good at that many things?
No, I mean, no, truly no. I mean, that's
Because
like...
you do stand up and you do, you know, acting, and now it's this movie, which is an incredible movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a great actor, but like I no, definitely not. Because like when I was young and like a dick, I definitely wanted to do that. I want to do everything. But like that's so lame, and like, and I never want to do stuff for the sake of doing it, or do stuff for the sake of proving how good I am at things, or look at all these different things I can do, you know. My hope with the movie, you know, and this is ironic, and there's my fucking name on it, and here I am talking about it, but like the hope is to just like disappear into the work, and hopefully just all people see is the work. And also, like, this movie was not made by me solely at all. You know, it was made by a crew of people, and really, first and foremost by Elsie, who sort of imbued the movie with all the meaning that I can, you know, now pretend to take ownership over. But yeah, I'm just trying to get, you know, just try to get better at things and try to continue. And yeah, I don't know, but definitely not. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know.
And what about? I know you get asked that a lot, but what about the stand-up? Would you go back to the stand-up? Because
Yeah, I'd love to do it again.
Because
Yeah.
you've been self-effacing about the stand-up, saying people are calling me a comedian for 13-year-olds. It's obviously not the case.
No, but I mean that as a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It's not that narrow a fan group. You
the
know,
13-year-olds, yeah, totally. But like the 13-year-old girls, I'm saying when people would say you're a comedian for 13-year-old girls as an insult, you know, and I was like, the 13-year-old girls like get my comedy way more than you do. Like that's how I felt. I mean, I felt like the ideas that I feel like my comedy is the shit I'm talking about sailing over your head, and the 13-year-old girls are getting it. So I just don't think it's an insult to. I don't know. I just think like that's more just trying to stick up for them. But yeah, I'd love to do it again. I mean, it's a very fun time to think about doing comedy because it feels impossible and nobody wants it. So it's like that feels fun. But yeah.
So something I found really fascinating listening to you talk was talking about killing in like a sold out theatre with thousands of people, and having this anxiety and not feeling right or not feeling yourself when, you know, people are like pissing themselves laughing in front of you. How difficult was that to deal with going on stage? And was it then the case, and there was, you know, a lot of the musical aspects of the comedy as well, it's kind of like 1-2, was it a case of hitting the beats?
Yeah, and it wasn't very constant. I mean, it wasn't constant, it was attacks. You know, there were 12 or so attacks, and the first one was in Edinburgh on stage where it was just a panic attack, like a straight up panic attack, not dissimilar from, you know, a panic attack that anyone else would have, you know, tunnel vision, shortness of breath, all that stuff. It was just on stage in the middle of a show, and what's very strange is that it's within a show, like you said, that's very written and very rigid, so I'm sort of like panicking, but also having to like stay in the sort of beat to beat prison that I've sort of constructed for myself. So yeah, it was very strange. Yeah, it was very, very strange. But it sort of led to the eventual sort of the one real epiphany I had in my entire life, which was when I started to talk about my anxiety on stage. I realized that sort of my anxiety that I thought was very specific to my experience, which was at the time being a 24-year-old, you know, male comedian with an audience, was actually connecting to 13-year-old girls and people of a younger generation who were saying, I was saying I feel very stressed because I feel like I'm on stage panicking in front of, thousands of people who are looking at me and have this idea of myself, and I feel like I'm trapped within a performance and I'm freaking out because of it. And 13-year-olds were going, yeah, that's like, I feel like that every day. And I go, what are you talking about? And I realized that, that the sort of stresses of a C-list comedian were democratized and given to an entire generation. And that my stage fright is common, and it is, and performance anxiety is held by not just performers, and that like social media has made life a performance, and that was the big sort of moment that I went like, oh right, like that's my angle. That's that my performing on stage and my meta comedy or whatever that I thought was like super postmodern or like self-referential and pretentious is actually observational. It's actually, there's a way to talk about this stuff that's actually relatable to people. And it's like, that this meta heady stuff is actually like true at a ground level for people. And that was that was sort of and eventually that, me having a panic attack backstage and, at the Vicar Street Theater is no different than a 13-year-old girl having a panic attack in a bathroom before going to a pool party. She's walking out into a stage. She's performing. She sees her life just like I do. So that was yeah.
So people wouldn't think that was related, but it obviously is. It's anxiety is a broad thing.
Yeah, and performance is a broad thing. Performing, and that's recent. I think that is the internet and social media. I mean, it's not that recent. Shakespeare, all the world's a stage. Some of that was figured out, but like.
Colin Quinn's got a great line. I went to see him in New York a couple of years ago. He's a great comedian, but he's got a great line where he's talking about social media, and he's like, everybody's got an opinion and nobody has a solution. And I always thought that was particularly for Twitter, because it just seems to me, and I know you're not a fan of Twitter, when you're tweeting like this just makes me hate everybody and myself, so I'm out.
I'm not a fan of Twitter.
Yeah, I'd feel quite similar as well. There is a toxicity there as well, with Twitter specifically.
Twitter's
Maybe it's
really
because
bad.
It's so opinion-based, it's mostly just text, whereas Instagram is...
Yeah, exactly. Instagram, like there's a we don't have it, but there's like a benign version of Instagram you can see, which is just like all of us posting our dogs and stuff. Like you could picture there's like an okay version of that. I don't think there's an okay version of Twitter ever. What's so not obvious, but like the issue with Twitter and all that stuff, which just like fucking kills me, like makes me so angry, is like, we can't have the conversation that needs to be had because the only place to have the actual honest conversation is on Twitter, and Twitter is a vested interest in not having a conversation that's critical about itself, obviously, for obvious reasons. And the thing is, like, it seems pretty obvious is that, like, and we kind of know this, is that, like, all Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that shit, but if we just stay on Twitter, all they want is engagement. That's all they want. They don't care about quality of conversation. They don't care about anything. They want engagement. They want you on it as much as possible. They want you tweeting as much as possible. So what kind of world do they want? Do they want a copacetic, cool world where we're all getting along and we're polite? No, they want the world on fucking fire. They want Trump in office. Twitter, of course, wants Trump in office. The moment Trump leaves, we tweet less. No one is, like, we've never tweeted more than when the world was on the brink of fucking destruction, and there's things to fight about and there's things to argue about. Twitter wants conflict. Sort of these fucking late night comedy shows, even if they're liberal or whatever they are. It's a whole world built on commentary. So what is even satire? That's what's so stupid about these things. These satirical news programs that act like they're against the current administration or whatever is happening in the world. It's like satire requires shit to be satirizable. So it wants a shitty world. It doesn't want things to get fixed. It doesn't want things to be good. It's like, it's just disgusting.
That's a media thing, I think, as well as a social media thing, because particularly with Trump, who is, the elephant in any room and any interview nowadays, where the stuff he's saying is so crazy, it's constantly covered. And that's one of the reasons why he was elected as well. But I don't think Twitter were doing that great as a social media platform comparative to the others in terms of ground until Trump won, or until Trump started tweeting crazy shit.
And now people think they're going to tweet him out of office. Trump's opposition is on Twitter just as much as him. They think the solution to him is better tweets, as opposed to like, no. It's like, it's fucking stupid. I mean, it's so stupid. We're literally trying to solve giant geopolitical issues by passing fortune cookies to one another. It's so bold-facedly stupid. I can't even think about it. It's so, I can't believe it. It's like every politician is tweeting shit. It's really crazy, man. It's crazy. We thought like there's so many versions of it. Where like people thought like headlines were the death of newspaper and the death of news coverage because we would reduce shit to a headline and no articles. Now it's just all that. It's like, and like they're memeing, like politicians are memeing, which makes me want to fucking put a bullet in my head, like truly, when they're like walking into parliament like, and then like a gif from like RuPaul's Drag Race, like fucking shoot me in the head. Sorry. Oh my God, it's so over.
I think it's
so over.
I think it's a fundamental lack of nuance.
Nuke us.
And I'll let you go in a minute. I know you've got more interviews to do, but it's this fundamental lack of nuance, and Twitter just seems to be the worst place for that.
Yeah, long form discussion is absolutely impossible.
But there's been kind of a flip, I think, to another side of that, where all these big podcasts, where people are having real conversations, have kind of started to take off, and clickbait's kind of gone away a little bit. There's almost a 180 to it.
Yeah, I don't know if clickbait's gone away a little bit, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I wonder about the podcast stuff, because I think that's right to a degree. But I also think like, if the podcasts were just like hours of silence that people were listening to, I think that was a little bit better. I just, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's like, part of me feels like, and this is the most ironic thing to say over and over again in interviews, we need less commentary. We need less takes, less people talking about fucking everything all of the time. That's what makes me insane. And that's what's crazy for people on Twitter. I'm looking at everyone else in the room. Like, you guys probably have adult friends. Maybe you guys are this. And if you are this, like, God bless you. And I actually don't care about you. It's like, it's just like the culture that around it. Like, I have like adult friends that everyone on Twitter tweets about everything every day. Every single day.
Stream of consciousness.
But everything. Like something happens, some like bullshit, stupid story happens, and everyone talks about it. And then everyone talks about the next thing. Everyone's talking about everything all of the time. And it's absolutely insane. And a huge problem is we look to fucking idiots like me, stupid celebrities that should just be making movies or just be doing comedy, to comment on things. And we're looking to like, when we should be deferring to experts and teachers and judges and fucking doctors. But, they're not as good, they're not as brand savvy as me. So yeah. I'll it's crazy.
You're using yourself as an example there, but I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit either.
I'm giving myself plenty. I get plenty of credit. Don't worry about me. I'm not a credit-starved person in this world. I can promise you that.
Well, you've made a great movie, and you've done some great comedy and stuff over the years as well. And I think, not just myself. I'm not a 13-year-old girl. Far from it. Hairy 37-year-old Irishman. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next, Bo. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.